Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tech Leaders Hub episode number 12. I'm so excited to be doing this today with Junior Godoi, software engineering manager from Scurri. Junior, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, Kuba. Thank you very much. Very happy to be here.
Very happy to have you here. Very excited for this session. I'm going to start in the usual way. I still haven't forgotten how to do this, even though we did have just a little bit of a break of a few weeks. Dear watchers and listeners, first of all, you're joining from the very first minute. So happy to have you here. Please help us out by letting us know that you can see us and you can hear us. Personally, I'm testing out some new things here in terms of the video. I hope the quality, you're going to like it a little bit better than in the previous sessions. So let us know that everything is working correctly. We should be coming to you live on 3 platforms right now. That's LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter this time around. So let us know if you can see us and hear us on all of those. As we wait for your comments, Junior, I wanted to ask you, who do you hope will be tuning in today? Who will benefit the most from listening to our conversation?
I think everyone who is leading a team at the moment. So if you have anyone who reports directly to you, or even if you are a key resource in a team that other people are also relying on you, I think you would be very interested with what I'm going to say here.
Okay, good. Yeah, don't sell yourself short, not at all. And we've got one incoming message from Dimitri. I can hear and see you. Thank you, Dimitri, for letting us know. Hope I didn't butcher the name too much there. So, yeah, and also Gareth from my team is letting us know on the backend chat that everything should be fine. Piero, hello. I can hear and see you. I love that. And you wrote it in the exact same way as Dimitri. That's a little bit creepy, but we'll go with it. Great, excellent. Happy to have you here then, and we'll just start digging right into it then. In our typical and traditional fashion, I do like to appreciate the people who kind of log in first and who join our sessions early. So I wanted to ask you the traditional Tech Leaders Hub question so we can start delivering value right from the start. Junior, what is your number one tip for tech leaders?
Number one tip, I think you need to trust your team. But don't take trust as a granted. Actually, trust takes time and it's very expensive to build up. And it's also very easy to break that up. So focus on building that trust within your team. Obviously, you're going to be to rely on psychological safety, an open environment. But once you build that trust, then you don't need to worry about micromanaging people. They know what to do, and you are kind of confident that they're going to achieve the results. So focus on trust, and you get all the rest as a bonus on it.
Awesome. Another one for the collection, because I do ask that question every single time. Let me dig into this a little bit more, because I'm thinking, obviously, trust is something to focus on. Let's say you have a new hire, somebody new joining your team. How do you set them up for success in terms of trust? Like, how do you structure the first one-on-ones, the first meetings, or the first days that they have with you as a leader to start building that trust?
Yeah, it's important that you have a team culture in place, so you know what you expect for every member of your team, right? So to have, as I said, psychological safety in place, you ensure that everyone is gonna tell what they have in their mind. People may not come with best ideas ever, but maybe a bad idea comes from somewhere, and you should try to explore that. So having all of these kind of a safe environment in place for people would help, because then you set the tune, and it's easy someone join your team and just go with the flow, right? Obviously, you know what the business would expect from you as a leader. So you know what's the output, and you should know exactly how to return all the investment that is being put on the team. So you need to balance all of these parameters, and then make sure that you make everything clear for this new person that is joining your team. What are the accepted behaviors, what you don't accept, what you're going to strive for, and make things very clear. I think communication is key. So make things very clear, because one thing, Kuba, is that sometimes the person is not the best fit for your team, but it also needs to think that sometimes your team is not the best fit for that person. So make things clear would avoid the possible churn. You invest on that person and then it turns out it doesn't work. So make sure that you set the rules very clearly, and you rely a lot on communication for that.
Okay, yeah, I think that's very relevant, and thanks for giving a little bit more detail about your your number one tip. Great. So having that behind us, the topic for today is fluent communication in moments of crisis. We'll get right to that. I really enjoyed our conversation, before this, as we were kind of preparing for the session, about how quickly you can recover. That really sets you apart from competition, because outages are going to happen. Before we get into that, before we start digging into that, though, can you give our watchers and listeners just a little bit of background about yourself, where you currently are, a few words about Scurri? I don't think would be out of place here, so that people can know who they're listening to and what kind of experience this is based on.
Sure. So I come from a design UX background. So at the moment, as I said, I'm a software engineering manager at Scurri. So I came from a user experience and design background. I started back home in Brazil, and then at some point of my life, I decided to move to Ireland, and then I'm building my career here in Ireland, leading an awesome team of full stack Python developers. About Scurri, so what we do in Scurri is Scurri, the management platform that empowers order, shipping, and delivery for online sellers. So basically, we sit between your e-commerce or warehouse management system and the delivery carriers that's going to deliver your product. So we are kind of that link that would, for all the techie guys there on this call, we are the link that is abstracting all the work that you would have to integrate with different e-commerce platforms or carriers to send your goods from the moment that someone purchased that until the goods arrive on the front door. So we are Python cloud platform that is powered by an amazing team of developers behind it.
I see. So, as I understand it, the people you're serving are these managers at e-commerce companies. And how would you say, I know we can get a little bit techie and a little bit specific, but let's say you're, I don't know, at a cocktail party or something. Somebody asks you, what kind of difference do you make in their life? How would you summarize that?
Well, depending how is their business is set. I'd say if you are a small shop that has just you use only UPS and you have great rates with UPS and you don't need to worry too much about how the product is gonna arrive to their customer, maybe you don't need Scurri. But at the moment, you need to kind of be looking for a cheaper rate, right? So maybe you're using UPS, but now you're selling something to Scotland, and in Scotland, maybe DHL has a cheaper price, right? So what would happen is your own tech team would need to jump in and do this second integration to a different carrier. And then obviously code doesn't come without maintenance, so you're also going to need to maintain that. The advantage to have Scurri there is that we do that link for you and we abstract all of that integration that you need to have. So you worry about integrate with Scurri, and then you just ask us to enable a new carrier, a new service. Also, you don't only get the carrier service on Scurri, but you also get the whole industry knowledge that we have, because we deal with different carriers, different customers in different areas for different products. So there's a lot of knowledge that you can leverage from Scurri when you're working with us. So we provide anything from the shopping cart, where the customer is going to decide what services is cheaper or more reliable. You get obviously your label to put in your box. You get the tracking, so you make sure that people are going to get the product. Or when the person doesn't get the product, we'll let you know before the person, and then you maybe can send a voucher for that person. So we do the end-to-end for all things since the person buy the product on your shop until it gets the product on their own door. And then obviously after that, we offer loads of reports to help you to do reconciliation. So there's a lot of intelligence there that we can also provide for you.
Amazing. That is super clear. And that really helps me visualize if, my e-commerce is scaling, why I would want to use that service. That's great. Okay, so let's then start digging a little bit into your, I'm very curious about How did you actually arrive in this mode of thinking, the main topic of our conversation today? So tell us about your team and how did it happen that you started thinking about recovery as, one of the key things to focus on?
Yeah. Well, it's the whole thing that things are gonna go wrong, right? You can have like a great software, you can have redundancy, you can have a great review process, you can have testers, but you cannot prevent the thing that's gonna go wrong. And people like us that on our industry, sometimes it's not just about your product, but the whole ecosystem around your product. That any failure on AWS and a failure on our case, a failure on a carrier, or if Shopify is down, this can affect and then knock off the whole platform. So there's too many variables around for you to guarantee 100% uptime. That's unrealistic. So if you cannot guarantee 100% of uptime, what can you do in that case? Is prepare to recover fast. So fast recovery is what we at Scurri we strive for. So that's why we maintain our 99.999%. That's the last 12 years. So because it's not that we don't believe that the platform is going to crash, but we are confident that if crash, we bring it up very quick. So that's the whole mindset behind it.
Excellent. So then I'm sure a lot of the people listening to this are going to want some specifics. 99.999% sounds great. How do I get there? And specifically, how do I train my team to get there?
Yeah. So I think we can relate it to fire drills, right? So if you're in a building and the fire alarm goes off, what do? Do you run? So that's why the fire drills are important, because the fire drills would teach you what is the exit you should use and where is the assembling point. So you do the fire drill often, because when the fire alarm goes off, you don't need to worry about what you're gonna do. You just keep doing what you're training, since ever. So that's what we do at Scurri. So we rely on exercises and drills to make sure that we create this mindset of, okay, there's a problem here and we need to solve. So instead of let the situation tell you what is going to be your decisions, make your decisions set the situation, right? So that means if you're having an issue with something that you probably doesn't know how to fix, at least you have a mindset. Okay, so let's calm down and let's see first, what do I need to do? Where do I need to look? Who do I need to talk to? And keep all of this process moving around the problem. At Scurri, we part of our drill is exactly to train people to say, okay, we have an outage now. The platform is down, right? So we need to bring that up. What do we need to do? Okay, so there's a Slack channel that we selected that where we're gonna be broadcasting all the information. Because one thing that could happen is your platform is down. Your customer success obviously is worried about what can I do to keep my customers, all our customers aware of what's going on. So instead of you're a developer and you're trying to fix the problem, but at the same time you're trying to communicate that with your customer success, that creates a bit of noise. So set the scene. So we have a Slack channel where we broadcast everything that's going on that recovery, right? We have already a process that where do we need to start looking when we don't know what's going on, because sometimes you have a crash and you know how to fix, but sometimes you don't. So you should have a script where you need to go and communicate that, right? And most important, keep the communication flow, but also find a way that you can document that, because a very important metric to improve yourself on crash recovery is the time to discover the issue and then the time to fix. And that's how you can measure yourself, because the thing is not going to break on the same place, right? But if you get your mindset on, okay, I need to find out what is the issue. Okay, I found the issue. Now I need to fix the issue. So you need to create that mindset and keeping documentation about that in the sense of, in a mean of, you create a timeline of events is very useful then to do a retrospective and find where can we improve that.
I see. So I'm wondering, okay, I'm imagining that Slack channel. There's more than one person in that channel. probably when an outage happens, there's more than one place to check. So do you divide the work, or how does that actually happen in practice?
Yeah. So when an issue happen, when we have any kind of an outage or disruption that we classify as serious, the first thing we do is all hands on deck. So everyone jumps in a call. So we have the whole engineer team there. It can sound expensive, right? But at the same time, you're impacting the operation of your own customers. So it should be like all hands on deck. Now you have everyone there, right? So let's define the role. So the first thing we do is define the role. Who is going to be helping the fix? So who hands-on code? Who is communicating with this Slack channel? The Slack channel would have product, customer success. Everyone who wants to know is there. But who is the person who is broadcasting there? Then who is the person who is taking notes of everything that's going on? And who are the supporting people that could be looking logs, maybe in a place that it's not your primary focus, but you have a spare person, so go look at logs. And then what we usually do is like, okay, we have everyone allocated to their own roles. Now everyone else could go back and do their own job. Or if you can't because the outage is impacting you, just watch and learn from that, right? So then once we have all the roles, then people start to doing what they supposed to do, and you have less noise. Because again, the fire drill is the same thing. Like you need to know who are the person who gonna count all the heads when they are on the assembling point, right? Because otherwise everyone is there and no one is counting. So you need to set what are the roles of each member of your team.
So I'm curious, do you have it set up in a way where there are certain people that usually take the same role in that situation, or does it rotate? Do you have like a particular approach here?
So we have the DevOps is usually the one leading because he's gonna be first. Because what's happening with Scurri is our review process is very robust, so we have less issues with defective code. Most of the time is something related to infrastructure. So DevOps is usually the first one leading that and trying to find out what was going on on our infrastructure. And then the team who is around, they would share. What we try to do is we may rotate people. So sometimes you could have someone that is not so experienced on that, but he's taking kind of the lead. But the thing is, the other experienced developers are there to support, right? So the psychological safety also works there because that person maybe be a bit slower, but you need to help and allow that person to take the step, to go outside the comfort zone and actually share their screen, share their terminal, and trying to fix the issue. We have this thing on Scurri that we call that we have DevOps as a culture. That means that everyone in the team should have a base knowledge of infrastructure, how to do a deployment, how to help on a crash recovery. So part of the drill sometimes is get a minor issue and treat that as a bigger issue, and then you're almost kind of on a real scenario, because when you do a drill, there's that thing that, okay, it's actually not down. We're just training here, But when you get a minor issue and you elevate and treat like a big issue and you put people to kind of, okay, now you are the one fixing here, share your screen, everyone's going to be watching you. People should be comfortable with that, So this kind of exercise help on it.
That's very smart. That when you have a minor issue, something is actually wrong. There's something to actually fix. But there's a bit of safety and it's like a training environment for people who are less experienced. That makes a lot of sense. I just wanted to remind everyone watching and listening, if you're curious about anything that Junior is saying, go ahead and leave comments and questions because, I'm going to be moving on to other topics that we have on the agenda. If you want us to stay longer on any certain topic, you can help us, give you the content that you feel is most relevant for you. So don't hesitate to leave comments or, it doesn't have to be a question. If you just find something useful, let us know. We love to see comments and we love to feature them on the show. I think it would be pertinent. I'm sure we're going to circle back to recovery at some point, but you did mention DevOps as a culture, and it's something that we also discussed before this call. It got me really curious. I included it in the copy for this event because I don't think that's something that's often discussed, or maybe it's not a common approach. So tell me about DevOps as a culture then. why, first of all, why did you decide to go with this approach, and then how are you doing it?
Well, first of all, is because we came from a place where we're fast growing startup, and now we are actually on the growth stage. So we're kind of growing a lot with new investment and new challenges. So from the time we're a startup, we're just a few full stack Python developers. So we didn't have a DevOps. So everyone has to kind of wear the hat as any startup, right? So I believe there's a lot of startup that say we don't even need a DevOps. You will, by the way. But we had this culture that everyone should be helping with code deployment, setting up infrastructure, scale up our infrastructure in peak moments. So we kind of learned that. Now we have someone that was in that chair for so long that this person is actually owns the DevOps, but still everyone is responsible. So for example, we do at least one deployment a day. So we kind of, instead of work with big releases, we keep doing continuous deployment. So it's at least one a day. Every day is a different deployer. So every day is a different person who's going to do the code deployment. And that person, when he does the code deployment, he or she also needs to be looking logs and make sure that the things are actually working as expected. So all the servers are being updated, all the load balancer is still up and all of that. So this helps because create this culture that you see in other companies where you have the DevOps or IT ops, where the developer finishes code and says that's not my problem anymore because I'm not the one pushing that to production. This is DevOps department. We don't like that. We are very collaborative. So DevOps as a culture, that means everyone is responsible for the code the moment you start writing the code until the moment you have your code in production.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm wondering, are there any specific things that you do to kind of instill that culture within your team? I see that one practice is that you rotate the role of the person doing the deployment. Is there anything else that you do to actually create this culture?
I think part of this crash recovery drill is actually look the servers and trying to understand if there's a server down, a server up, if all the servers got updated at the same time. So I think all this work that we do in drill, focus on quick recovery, is what kind of push people to understand more about DevOps.
Mm-hmm. Okay, right. Well, that gets me really curious about this whole matter. So I see that you have this DevOps as a culture. How would you say, what kind of difference does it make for your day-to-day work? Like, how would you kind of sell people on the idea that it's good to have this as a culture? What kind of difference does it make for you?
From a manager, a leader point of view, it's very reassuring that you're not relying on one team for everything that is being done, needs to be done from a DevOps point of view. Everyone would be able to help on that. From a developer point of view, is also great because it's knowledge, and the more knowledge you have, the better you are positioned as a developer. So understand not only how to write a piece of Python code, but how to maybe transform the Python code in infrastructure as a code, and then you just you write a file and then you upload this file in AWS and boom, you have a full infrastructure with different servers, different database, load balancer on top of that. So I think the biggest seller of that is first, that's part of the team culture. So anyone who joins the team would get the feeling of, oh, I also need to help here. It's like, do you see someone eating a fruit or a food or anything, and when the person, geez, this is very good. Sometimes you don't even like the fruit he's eating, but he was like, oh, I should try, So that's what we have in our team. Everyone is so happy to help all over the place that, someone joins the team and say, geez, Tony is deploying today. I have no idea how to deploy, but everyone is doing so. I should learn how to do it. So we keep doing that way. So from a developer, obviously you're gonna learn a lot of things, gonna make your life easier because the solutions you're providing has that kind of a DevOps mindset. Is my code performant? Should I improve the query that I'm writing here so I'm not putting too much load on the database? So help you to grow as a developer. And then as a leader, that's reassuring that everyone would be able to help if something goes wrong there.
I see. It really brings to my mind that you're helping your people become. You mentioned you have full stack developers, and that's to give. For me, I'm not sure. I think people define full stack in various ways, but this is even a fuller stack, and that it goes into DevOps as well. I don't think people usually maybe go as far. So I'm also curious in terms of hiring, is there anything in particular that you do to select people who will be receptive to this kind of culture? Do you kind of check for it during the hiring process?
Yes. So we're not so worried about the person doesn't have if a person doesn't have a DevOps background, because we're willing to teach. So for us, it's more important when you're hiring is to check if the person actually fit the team culture. Because you can teach anyone about technology, but you may not be able to teach that person how to behave in a certain way you want to, and maybe this is not even fair. So a culture. When I say like a team culture, a clash is like if someone is not willing to learn how to do a code deployment because he thinks that is not my problem, that's a DevOps problem. That person is not a cultural fit for the way that the team works together, right? So I think that's the first thing we look if the person is willing to learn and contribute with everyone. Get your fair share done. Now, when we're looking for a person to join Scurri, we're looking for, as everyone else, we're looking for problem solver. So if you know how to solve a problem using a smart thinking, but you don't know Python, that's maybe less than a problem if you actually struggle to solve problems. So
right.
Be always curious, be always interested in new things is something that for people who is maybe listen to this and say, geez, but I don't know how to solve problems. Yeah, but you can learn. You can get the mindset of a problem solving. Get a big problem, chop down in little pieces, and then start to solve piece by piece, and suddenly you're gonna have the whole thing solved. But we give loads of support once the person joins the team to understand how our AWS setup works, how we do code deployment. And again, we rely a lot in automations. So that's, I think, is something that is very interesting how we do in Scurri, that we take a little bit of this manual work for loads of things and we automated things. So that also makes it easy for a code deployment. Actually, you just run a script basically, and then everything is done for you. But obviously you need to know where to look and where things can go wrong there. But basically the code deployment, you're gonna get a hash, and then you're gonna use this hash on the script, and the thing is gonna start deploying itself. So
you touched upon something that also is kind of on my agenda to ask about, and that's these automations that you did also mention before we went live. I have one more question before we actually get into that, though, because I feel like culture is an extremely important thing, when you're building a team, and it's like it applies in so many different ways. I mean, even when I'm, thinking about my team right now and the culture around it, love it, it's great. But every new person, there's that risk that you will be kind of diluting the culture, shifting it a little bit. So, what advice would you have to somebody who is, maybe building a fresh team, or their current team, the culture is not there, they're not happy with it? What advice would you have for them to create a culture where people are so eager to help each other out? It sounds like the culture is great at Scurri. So what kind of practical advice would you give to somebody in that situation?
I think it's actually looking inside and see what matters for you, right? So what do you need to get from this team? So if you think about, you need to get, everyone's going to say, well, we need to get money from this team. If I put money here, I want money out. But what is important for you? How that revenue generation is important, and where people needs to be focused on. As I said at the start, like a good communication would get to that. At the start, I remember we are a few developers here in Scurri, and there's a lot of new things to do and loads of innovation going on. So we knew that, would not be a one-man army to do all of that. We would need to help each other, and sometimes I'm going to be working something completely different, but I know that you're struggling. So I'm going to see if I can stop mine and help you, and then you help me back, and we are back on track. We're going to try to do things together. I think one other nice thing is your team culture should also reflect your company culture, right? Every company has your core values, and you should be rely on your core values. So one of the core values on Scurri is we love family, because and this could be like, oh yeah, you love family, that means that you just want people to do overtime without. No, that's not the thing. Like, we love family because we expect to have that support that you would have from your family. So when they see that you are struggling, or see you and you're not in a good day, that person would put effort to kind of maybe check on you, see how you're doing. Everything is wrong. There's everything I can do for you. I can see that you cannot solve the problem. Instead of go and say, come on, you need to hurry up. No, it's just, well, where can I help you? Can I be your rubber duck? Can I just sit beside you? You explain the problem and you find the solution by yourself while you're explaining me. That's fine. Also has the mindset that as a family, you're not going to be best friend of everyone. Obviously, on your own team, you should respect everyone, and you should treat everyone with respect, and you should strive for a good relation. But don't expect that on a company level, you're going to be best friend of everyone. On your own family, there's always someone of your family that you're less keen to kind of invite for the Christmas dinner or something like this. And that's fine. That's how family works. And when you say that you bring this family culture inside to your company, is also to understand that I may not have the best relationship with that person, but we work towards the same goal. So why would not strive to kind of maintain some sort of a level of interaction, and then we work together to that goal. So I think if you start with respect and that psychological safety, that doesn't matter what the person says, what matters is it matters less the result of what the person said, but where that idea came from, right? So sometimes you want the solution, the person give you the crappiest solution ever, but that came from somewhere, So explore that. Maybe the wording was bad, but the idea there is great. So if you base on respect and then psychological safety, I think everything that you can build on top of that would guide your team culture to a correct direction. You're gonna reach a nice place if you have respect and this psychological safety well worked out in your team.
Okay, I'm so glad I asked that question. Oh gosh, it really resonates with me, this family approach. Some of what you said really reminds me of the atmosphere at SDX Next, which makes me very grateful. But it also kind of calibrates, on the one hand, expectations. On the other, I think it tells people, that it's preferred to support each other. I like what you said about, okay, so if we have two separate problems, let's not work separately. I help you with yours, you help me with mine. And that way, it may not even be faster, maybe, but it will help create a better culture. And I think that in the long run, that might be a better play. That's great. I'm really glad I asked about this, and it's very inspiring. So thanks for sharing all of that.
And then one thing that is also very important to mention is like, keep things fun. Don't get fun. Don't get, it doesn't come for free. Don't take it for granted. Fun is something that actually, as trust, cost you, is expensive, but paid off. So what I mean is, sometimes Junior, not on my best day, but I'm gonna have a stand-up, and I know that there's 20 developers joined there, and as a leader, they're gonna be looking at me, that for some direction. If I go to that call grumpy and be disrespectful, I'm just gonna make things worse. So sometimes I'm not on my best day for whatever reason, but before the call is like, okay, I'm going to join the call. I'm going to put a smile on my face. I'm going to try to make this call the best I can, because I know that this would reflect to other people. There's people outside. So join that call, see according to your team culture how much fun you can put there. Make some jokes, let people also bring different subjects to maybe you're in a serious chat, but if you throw something funny at the start, or start talking about things you did on the weekend, or something fun that happened to you during the weekend. Oh, I was walking and I got a bird shit on my shirt and I spent the whole, this thing break that ice and then makes everything easier, because then you get, all the commitment from all the other peers. So invest on fun, because is also something that paid off.
Yeah, insist on fun. That's something I should write down. It reminds me actually of a team call that our marketing team had just this morning. I wonder if somebody from the marketing team is watching right now and they're like, oh no, he's going to go there. But anyway, somebody asked me if it's okay to work on November 11th, which is a holiday in Poland. And, now that I think back on it, it's like I could have said, yeah, it's okay if you want to work off some hours. But instead I said, no, it's not okay. A team of highly trained assassins will come for you if you log in. And that made the whole call different. That we were talking about assassins all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have this thing that during our retro, we have this thing that to get engagement of everyone during the retro. I always start the retro, make everyone speak something. Because statistically, I don't know the correct numbers, but as anything on the internet, people who are saying something at the start of that meeting would get a better engagement on the meeting. Sure. I tell this from my own experience. If the person say anything at the start of the meeting, that person is more likely to be engaging with whatever is going to happen in that meeting. So the first thing we do during the retro, we give a duck. Because we said you should give a duck. And actually what we do is we have an online board where we have some rubber ducks, and you have one duck, and everyone on the team has one duck, and you can give this duck to another team member to help you during the week. So we try to do this give a duck in order to first get engagement, because the person is going to say something, but also is all of that, thank you for helping me this week. So this week I had too many code reviews, and Paul jumped and helped me to review some of mine. So Paul, you have my duck this week. And then the person who get more ducks that week get a golden duck. And then that person goes to there's a hall of golden duck with all the person who got a golden duck.
Okay.
So that came from trying to mix a little bit of fun, because it's a retrospective. We're probably going to be talking about failures there. And it's important that you're talking about failures. But let's start with, setting the scene that, we're going to give ducks. We're going to say thank you to everyone. We're going to make it fun, because sometimes you want more ducks. So you can last minute offer some, that code review I can make for you if you give me the duck on the meet, so you can kind of have some fun and makes the whole meeting way better. You get way more engagement because you're investing on fun, right? So this whole duck thing took a little bit effort from me to introduce, but now it's paying off, because the whole meeting is way more engaging than, just people waiting to talk.
Oh yeah, and what you said obviously resonated, because Kaya here in the comments is saying that's brilliant, and I'm just inclined to agree. You have to give a duck when
you have to give a duck.
And you're on your team. I love that. I honestly, seriously love that. that was not part of our prep conversation, but I'm so glad we went there. And it's like, on the one hand, it's kind of inspiring me. That's a practice to steal, but I can feel my team already cringing at it. Like you said, I think it's gonna take some convincing.
It does. Like the first few ones is very cringy. People are but now it's just natural. I know people are jumping to say, "Can I give my first duck?" So try it out.
So sweet. That is so great. Awesome. Great. I kind of forgot where we were in the agenda for this. Let me just try and get my bearings really quickly. Okay, so we were talking about quick recovery, DevOps as a culture. There's one more thing that I wanted to. Okay, let's move into this one first, from the kind of bigger topics that we have, because we were talking a lot more about culture. I think that's great. You did mention one thing. Ooh, okay, sorry, one more comment. Casper is saying, I want a duck. You'll get one in the comments, I bet, from Junior after this is over. Okay, so very important to have your team, feel, like you said, secure, for there to be a sense of trust. I feel like they also need to trust you as a leader. One thing you mentioned to me, and one thing that I really wanted to explore more, is managing when you're not one of them. You mentioned you have like a UX background, and you also mentioned your team is full stack Python developers. So very much you're not one of them in that sense, in the sense of background. How do you navigate that? How do you make them still trust you as a leader? How do you make all of this work?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, when I say I'm not one of them, could sound like I'm better than them, but actually I'm always like Junior's not a developer. That's a constant in the team. They treat me, oh no, but Junior's not a developer. I mean, like, come on, guys. I'm a front end developer. I know code. I just don't know Python. But in any way, I'm not a Python developer. I was never writing Python before I turned into an engineering manager. And these have a link, actually. I don't know how many people from the audience here, whoever is listening, watch Ted Lasso. That's the whole thing. So the whole thing with Ted Lasso is exactly like he's a American football coach who comes to UK to be a coach of a football, soccer team. And he has no idea how soccer works. He has the whole background from American football, but there's one thing that he put on the team, that is the word believe. You need to believe. So as a leader, doesn't matter if I great or not on Python. What's matter is, am I pointing the right direction? Am I there for the team when they need to? Because technology, look, I have under me an awesome team. They're brilliant. They do Python like no one does. I like to think that. They are great. So I have Python specialists, so I don't need to worry about that. I don't need to tell them what to do. I need to help them with the problems to get solved. So I need to be there. If a person needs extra help, I should be able to move people there to give extra help. If the person is not a great day, maybe I should sit there and go for a coffee, or have like a Zoom call and maybe a virtual coffee on that, and then say, you know what, let's move away from the problem. Let's talk a little bit. Maybe the person has a personal issue that he's comfortable to talk to me about. So I need to be there for them, And at the same way, I need to kind of it's not kind of a ring fence, but I need to guard the team when, because when you are in a company that you have to, maybe you have a board that is pointing some directions, you have people asking for the revenue and all of that can create a stressful situation. And I need to make sure that my team is actually focused on what they do best, is writing code, and everything else I can handle that for them. So this thing that I'm not one of them help me, because I cannot just say, do you know what, I do myself. I can't. If there's some Python code to be done and comes to me, I cannot just say, do you know what, I do myself. No, I need to trust my people to do that, because I would not be able to do. So I give all the support that the people will need to do that. You as a leader, you don't need, my point of view, right? You don't need to be kind of a top technical talent, because you're not going to be able or have time to do all the technical work that needs to be done. But you can enable everyone in your team to get that done very well, So like hovering around your team to see where you can improve. Is there people in need for more training? Can you get training? What's the best training you can provide? Do you need to promote someone? Do you have someone that is not taking the time off, and you can see the burnout? Because the burnout is another dangerous thing. The person could be in a high, right? He's on the flow. I'm gonna get this done, but you're, I don't know, 2 days in a row focus on that. So let's talk a little bit to make sure that you actually is not just burning out there. So it's exactly like that. So if you didn't watch Ted Lasso, first of all, is a great leadership lesson. But the whole thing of belief is something that, is very important.
Yeah, that's great. I should really catch up on that one. I know that Justina from our team is a great fan, and she recommended it to me. So I should really catch up on that one. All right. So it sounds like it's almost like a hidden advantage, isn't it? When you don't have the technical expertise, you don't have the temptation to actually do things for your team. You focus a lot on whatever you can do and just helping them out as people. I'm wondering, because you mentioned a lot of practices that I think I mean, I'm seeing my gaps as a leader just listening to you, you know? How do you learn all of that? Or how did you kind of gain these skills to know, you know, how to sit down with a person, have that conversation? Do you have any, I don't know, rules or practices you follow or resources to recommend? I'm asking for myself, you know. Watchers and listeners, if you have questions, go right ahead. Right now, this is what I'm curious about, so that's what I'm asking about. If you could give us anything, that would be great.
Yeah, I think things like this, try to listen to other people and see what works for them, and then put your own view on that. Like again, the whole give a duck, maybe it's not gonna fit any company, but there's something there that you can use, extract, and then use yourself. And don't be afraid of trying. When you're building a psychological safe place, you're doing that for yourself too, right? Sometimes I come to my team and I'm not sure of the result of something I'm proposing, but I'm confident that the team is gonna buy in because they believe that I'm doing that on the best intention. Because when a manager comes with a process, is again, oh no, I need to fill another document, or there's a new thing I need to do. No, when they know that if I'm introducing something there is to help them with their work, so they trust me, right? I think don't be afraid of trying new things, and don't call that a new process at the start. Call an experiment, because when you say this is an experiment they're going to try for a while, that creates a different expectation than you come something and say, I'm changing the process. If you're changing the process, you obviously waiting for a positive output. If you run an experiment, part of an experiment is to find out what doesn't work. So the failure of an experiment is a success measurement, right? And when you put a process and you fail, then you create a different point of view. So try little things, call that an experiment. Don't be afraid to share your team, your uncertainties, so people know that maybe this is gonna fail. And Junior say that if it's fail here, then we're gonna reassess and see where we go from there, but we commit to do that. And most important is every time you're gonna put an experiment, check your team and get feedback from that. Get the buy-in from your team, because if people are part of building that experiment, they are part of the commitment to get that right. So instead of Junior come with his own point of view of how it needs to get done, no, talk to everyone and see what they think about that. Because while you're doing that, you're getting a commitment from people. You're getting that engagement that you're gonna need when you're trying something new. So I'm in Scurri, I tweak our process all the time, because I always trying to find out how can I improve something even more. I'm never comfortable, and no one should ever be comfortable with the process, right? Oh, I'm getting great output, right? Can you get more? And how you do that? Exactly, kind of looking how things are going, talking to people, rely on the communication, and then doing small increments here and there. Most of them may fail, but if you get one over a few failures, that means you move one step ahead, and you keep doing that, keep doing that. But make sure that you have that safety in place, right? So put everyone on board, and then try small experiments. You'll be surprised when a junior developer comes to you with a great idea that turns into a great process, So I'm a very practical person. So every time I talk to someone and they suggest something, it's on next day or as soon as I can, I don't tend to sit on some ideas and see, oh, what if these or that. Life is unpredictable. So you think something is good, call an experiment, may fail, that's great, but try out, and then if it's a success, then you can call that a new process or new improvement, and you say that you're doing continuous improvement because you're always kind of adding something new there.
Right, and continuous improvement is really continuous experimentation. That is so smart, actually. And wow, it's making me think back on some of the decisions I was making in the last few weeks. Some processes that could have been called experiments, and maybe that would have had a better outcome. Thank you so much for this tip. It's great. And again, unexpected from this session, but I love it when we go off the agenda, and there's even more good stuff there. On the subject of the agenda, though, I did want to cover one thing, because I think it's going to be very relevant for our watchers and listeners, especially engineering managers who always want to save their team's time, right? So one thing that I did promise, promoting this event, is to talk a little bit about the automations that you introduced to help developers take back their time. I feel like a lot of people are going to be curious about that. Could you say, did it start out as an experiment, and how did that go, and what kind of automations are those? And, if I'm in a similar position, how can I start implementing those as well?
So coming from a UX background, I'm always looking to make things, more usable, and then, useful, and then easy to use, and save time to do that. So I'm almost looking things about, if you do this that way, it would be better. So one of the things that we start to do in Scurri is kind of all of that's manual work that people are doing all the time. We are a development team, so obviously if that can be scripted, let's script that, and then you save 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there. I think I was checking yesterday actually. There is Slack, a very nice report from Slack, and they were saying that I think it's around 60% of the people who was part of that analysis. They spend 30 minutes a day just switching from one app to another app. If you think about 30 minutes a day, and you have, a team of 10, how much time on the amount people are spending just switching apps? Because if you're a developer, you're handling with GitHub, you have your pipeline builder, you have obviously your IDE where you're writing your code, you have the product you're developing that you probably need to. So you have you have your Kanban board, you have, product announcements and all of that. So there's a lot of places that you need to go. And since day one, when I started Scurri, the engineer team was already a distributed team. So we have people in Ukraine, Hungary, Brazil, we have in Poland, here in Ireland, we had in Portugal. So we have loads of people around the board. And since day one, Slack were something that we used to rely a lot. Okay, so now I have a place where people would be most of their time on Slack, right? Because they're communicating, they're talking to each other, making decisions there. Okay, so this came with the idea, if everyone is there, so why instead of let people go to different apps to get information, why we're not starting feeding that information to Slack? And that's where the Slack bot was created. So we have a few Slack bots at the moment that would give people a lot of information when it's relevant. So you have any failure, if you have, if someone is late for stand-up, for example, if someone is late for stand-up, if someone's late for, they can go to Slack and they can use that bot to send an asynchronous stand-up. So they're gonna send one line of what they would be doing that day, right? And that goes to the Slack channel. So now that information is also captured and on Slack, everyone on there, so they can just scroll and see what's going on. We have a product announcements on Slack where we keep all the, everything that's going on with product go to that Slack. We have an integration with GitHub. If our pipeline fails, we get a notification on Slack. If our security tool sees something that looks suspicious, it's gonna trigger something on Slack too. Remember that I said that every day, someone's gonna be the deployer. If by any means we forgot to define who is the deployer, there's a place that we would flag during our stand-up, and Slack, our bot would check that, and if there's no deployer, it would send a message to the chat to say, guys, there's no deployment selected today, so what's going on here, right? So we build loads of automations. We have a dashboard. So I mentioned our retro, our stand-up is also very streamlined. So we have a stand-up, and my team at the moment is, I think we're around 20 developers. And we have a stand-up, a daily stand-up with 20 developers. And people could be looking and say, Jesus, you have a lot of waste there. And we used to have, because 20 developers, a lot of people to give updates, to ask for help, to give, announcements and all of that. Our stand-up, our daily stand-up takes up to 15 minutes every day with 20 developers. But how we achieve that? We have a single dashboard on our Kanban tool, right? We create a single dashboard. All the relevant information that we need to do a quick stand-up is there and is in order. So it's kind of scripted. So if someone starts to look, it's going to see how many blockers we have, how much this represent on our daily backlog of cards, who are the person who is holding more reviews as a code reviewer. So, someone could join there and help that person. What are the priority tasks that we need to close today? What code we are shipping to production today? How many lines this code has? What's the complexity, the risk of something goes wrong? So everything is shown in a single page. So every day someone from the team would drive the stand-up. That's not me. I'm kind of out of driving stand-ups, and this is another thing that we could explore maybe another time. But like I like to make myself kind of a disposable, right? So people should drive, the team should drive himself. So if I'm not around, the team should work as if I was there. So the person who is driving the stand-up, he would look the whole thing, and then it's almost like a script, right? So he starts and goes from top to bottom, and when he reached out the bottom, all the relevant information was exchanged, everything was highlighted, people know what they are doing, everyone knows what they are doing, all the blockers are highlighted, and we can finish the stand-up. So our stand-up used to take around 40 minutes or 1 hour, right? I went out to 15 minutes. What are we gonna do with all of that time? So that time now can be done to developers to improve their productivity, because they can be writing code, and that's what they want to do, right? Developers want to write code, so they can be writing code. But what we did is our output is great, right? And we have a little bit more time. So instead of asking people to do even more work on that time that we gain, we started to use that for self-improvement. So after they stand up now, people can use that time that we got back to kind of do a quick tech talk in the morning. So every morning someone can bring a subject and have 20 minutes to talk about that subject. That could be something interesting that you find about. That could be a problem you have on your current task that you want a second opinion. That could be a new product that we are working with product, but actually I don't know how to give them the right solution, but you have 20 developers on that call. So that's a very important time that we made, and now we're using that. And then the extra time, I would say as a leader, you should also allow people to have slack time. So now you have 50 minutes. Do with this 50 minutes whatever you want to. When you do that, you could say, geez, I'm losing 50 minutes of productivity. No, you're not. What you're doing that is allowing people to kind of maybe cool down, and then you're going to get way more in the rest of the day, right? So allow people to have self-improvement. Maybe you have, I don't know, a plural site or some tool that give them training. Allow them to use that training, So whenever you add some automation or something that give you back time, make sure that you just don't get that time and say, I want more code with that, because could give you a false indicator that now you have more time doing code, people will have a better output. But make sure that you're not stress out people, right? So make sure that you use that time that you're getting back smart.
All right. Wow, that was all excellent. I just went ahead and muted myself just to to let you kind of get in that. One thing that brought to my mind is, other than just so much to unpack here. One thing that brought to my mind is, I'm sitting at the SDX Next office right now, right? And I'm thinking, when it comes to remote work, working with distributed teams, it's like every time you have to switch tabs, it's as if at the office you had to go to a different room, right? You have to pick some piece of information from there, then to go to a different floor to pick up some piece of equipment. When you're working remotely in a distributed way, that's kind of the equivalent. So when you actually find a way to put all of the tools, all of the pieces of information in one place, that can save so much time. And for you, it's Slack that is kind of this source of information, and the Kanban dashboard. We're also doing a lot of integrations, like for example within marketing and sales, a lot of information gets fed into Slack. But now I'm thinking, wow, we need more. We need maybe a few more dashboards to save people from actually switching these tabs, because this is where focus gets lost, this is where context gets lost, and then you have 20 open tabs, and it's overwhelming no matter who you are and no matter how focused you see yourself as. So that is hugely useful, and I think that it can inspire a lot of the watchers and listeners right now. And oh gosh, we're 58 minutes in, and it's a 1 hour session. Everybody watching and listening, if you have some final questions, now is the very last moment. We do have a comment coming in. There's so much to learn and discover, says Kasper. Your Slack pipeline and meetings are brilliant ideas. You should really do like a blog post about them and kind of show them, in practice, what they look like. Thank you, Kasper, for the comment. Like I said, any questions, very last moment. We will already be going a little bit over time. Hope that's okay. All right, good. But my final question would be, I'm just wondering, obviously you're quite prepared for this session. I was wondering if there's anything else that you wanted to kind of share with our Tech Leaders Hub audience that, I didn't manage to ask about, or any other, tips, anything else that you would like to leave our watchers and listeners with as we kind of gear up to say goodbye.
I think just reiterate the importance of, train and practice, because when you practice, like a stressful situation is only stressful if people who are in that situation are stressed, right? So like take control of that. So train that. And again, I love when I can talk to other leaders to say kind of trust your team, don't micromanage them, trust they are the best to do their work. So don't tell them what to do, tell them where to go, right? Set the end game, look, we're going on that direction. How they gonna go from here to where you point out, that's up to them to decide to, so trust them on that. And obviously, if I have a few minutes here, I'd like just to say that if you really, really enjoy everything that is going on Scurri, and you're a Python, you're a full stack developer, we're hiring. We're always looking for talent. We're always looking for problem solver. We're always looking for people who can fit our culture, and we can teach you all this DevOps and all this awesome Python and automation word. So just reach out on scurri.com, and you'll be very welcome to the team.
Excellent. Yeah, I was going to ask you about obviously any announcements for our audience. I think you made a great case for joining your team all throughout this session. So that's great. Thank you so much for everything on this session. I do have one thing to cover as we kind of ramp down here, is that some people might be watching this who don't know Tech Leaders Hub or SDX Next. So just very quickly, if you've never heard about us, we're a software development company helping other companies such as Scurri with when they want to scale up their software development capacity in some cases. So if you want to build a product, design a product, deliver a product, scale your teams, then you can reach out to us, especially when it comes to Python, because we are the Python powerhouse. I got the slogan right behind me there. Okay, because I am actually tuning in from the office today. Also, in terms of hiring, we are hiring for so many roles right now. We're hiring developers, we're hiring for our sales team. We're also hiring a content lead for my team. So if you're into content marketing by any chance, watching this, not the perfect fit in terms of audience, but if there's a chance, go right ahead. And apply. I'm looking for applicants, so I thought I might as well throw that in there as well. We've got one last comment coming in from Kasper, really the MVP of our comments section today. I wish you all the best. I have no questions from my side. No problem, Kasper. Any other additional questions? If you're curious about anything we said today, you can leave them in the comments. Junior's going to see them. We can keep the conversation going on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on Twitter, because that's where we stream today. I suppose that's everything. Junior, once again, thank you so much for finding the time and tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed the session, because I really did.
Thank you very much, Kuba. I hope your dad enjoyed too. I know that he probably gonna be watching and listening us. If the guys didn't see, check Kuba comment on LinkedIn about that. But yeah, it was really a pleasure, and I love to be sharing all the experience here.
Yeah, thanks. I forgot it. Yeah. Shout out to my dad, who is apparently reading and watching all of my LinkedIn content, even though his English is not that great. So hi, Dad, if you're watching this. Great moment great note to end on. Remember, guys, give a duck when you're working. And when you're working with your teams, and thank you. That'll be all for this Tech Leaders Hub session. Don't forget to follow SDX Next on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitter. Look up Tech Leaders Hub. There's a Facebook group. Just look us up and follow us, and you will get notified about further episodes. And that's it. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for today. I'm gonna click the button now. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.
Bye.